Hello, everybody.
All today.
Not too bad, Robin. How is your good
I'm
self?
not too bad. The sun is sort of shining here, and yeah, it's you can hear the birds again. I've got the door open, so yeah, it's all good. How about you?
Yeah, all right.
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Good.
Sorry?
Not too bad. Okay, look, there's my miniature today. Can't really see it there. I need to. I've changed it for a big one. It's too big now. I have to reverse a little bit. There we go.
You want it a bit more towards the left-hand side of your screen, I think,
Okay.
because of the way the cameras are set up.
Right.
I don't even know what I'm going to start
Yeah,
painting on.
so he is
I've got
a
a clue.
glory seeker from the game Godtear by Steamforged Games. And that's Pete and I are hoping to bring that to the channel once we can meet, which is now barely a fortnight away, just a little bit over. And these guys are sort of, I don't know, well, they're seeking glory anyway, so maybe they've stolen from the underworld. And this is a champion. So I had a quick look at the rules, which is always a good idea. And these champion models basically are the leaders, you might
They're the
expect.
big
So they can
ones.
do things better than the minions. The minions are quite a lot smaller. Um,
Unfortunately, my champion doesn't fit on my GW holder.
it's too big, is it? So that's why
Basically, yeah.
I've got the fancy schmancy red glass one, which does with this putty and the magnetic with the
Oh, yeah.
liftable top, which I quite like actually. But I invariably find I just end up doing it, holding the miniatures like that and never actually using the hand. Rather than
I can't remember what mine are called. What I'm painting. I did write it,
you did.
but I can't remember what
Because
it
you've
is.
got that one. I suppose.
No, I'm doing.
Stop yapping.
I'm
Start painting.
literally.
What's everybody else painted today? Walking Gaz is in, and all the fonts is in. Hello, hello. And I know Johnny Milan, who's also here, is painting his warden, the cloak. Is that the final stage? I think of his sepulchral guard.
So I'm just trying my. I'm using Nighthaunt Gloom, which is one of the technical paints GW came out with that supposedly you could use on your ghosties. But I'm not sure if that looks very good. It doesn't look very spooky at all. I think the contrast might work better.
Maybe you've got some quite good. Your vampires, you've got some quite nice lucidity going on with vampires. I'm
I've got a nice one.
mostly painting metal today. I don't know how exciting it is, bit of Iron Warriors. Go. Not too bad.
Trying to work out what paint I want to use.
Also, not quite as shot. Thinking of buying some scale colour metallics. Having become a convert to scale colour, I really fed up.
Sorry, I had to quickly go away and chase my dog down to get something out of its mouth. It was chewing
Oh,
on
okay.
flipping dogs.
Is it one of? I hope it wasn't like Craig's Ravages or something.
No, something much more useless than that.
Not one of the children either.
No, sadly not. It'd take a very long time to feed all of my kids to this dog.
There's nothing planned today. Unexpected normal lunch break. He hasn't got any painting stuff out. Oh,
Boo.
shame. Dave Henderson always paints metals over black. Yeah, I probably should.
I should, but I won't. I'm trying to find a really suitable sort of ghosty blue that I could do for this, because this Nighthaunt Gloom that I just tried a bit of on there doesn't look particularly spooky. I don't know, I'm just used to the contrasts being a bit more vivid.
Right. It's funny
Try different.
how things go if it's a start, looking at David's comment there. Because I always used to paint over black. And I kind of stopped. But yeah, metal over black was always better. And I was just thinking, I want these to be nice and dark, the metal. And I really should have painted over black. But I kind of completely forgotten that I used to do that. You kind of get used to painting the way you're painting at the time. And then it gradually shifts. You don't really notice. I find it's the same with cooking. I get fed up with what I'm cooking. And I think, well, I haven't cooked the same 6 meals for the last 20 years, so I must have used to cook other things. What was it? And I just can't ever remember. The real definition of adulthood is having to cook for 20 years. Nobody tells you that. You'll have to make dinner for 20 years in a row.
I find I get bored with making dinners after about a week.
I quite enjoy cooking, but I do have times where I fall out of love with it.
I don't mind eating. The cooking bit's a bit dull for me, I find.
I do enjoy our Patreon food channel. There's some good stuff going on there.
Sorry, my dog is being a right pain in the arse today. It's just slowing me right down. It doesn't help that I'm not really sure what I'm doing with these either, so none of it's really working.
So that's
The
why
whole world's just against me today. Sorry?
That's why you shouldn't get a dog.
Yeah.
John Grant notices I'm tending to push the paint with the brush rather than drawing the paint along. Interesting. Yeah, I guess I probably do. So I should be doing this rather than that. I think it's because partly, John, because I had too much. It was a bit wet, so it kind of come off a big blob. I was kind of pushing it around. Well, now I feel really self-conscious.
Everyone's watching you, Robin, silently judging. It's right, they'll move on to me in a minute. We noticed that Pete's just shit. Why is he doing this? It's just an affront to nature. This paint's just a bit green. I'm not sure if I like it, but screw it, basically. Just the way it is.
Yep. It looks like because I've left out, did you?
So I'm just going to go murder my dog again.
Okay. Are you on lunch break at the moment, John? At school, presumably you're on lunch. I'm not painting. That's all right, John.
Fell over.
It's just quite funny. You suddenly, I love doing these, but then you suddenly realise that everybody, well, not everybody, 7 of you are all watching, and
well, we're assuming they're watching. I mean, one of them's you.
Yeah,
right?
well, that's true. 6 of you are watching, and it's yeah, it's slightly off thing. You know, I was mainly joking. No, it's always good to get feedback. I was kind of thinking, I don't know what to do next to make my painting get a bit better. And then a part of me thinking, well, it doesn't matter, because the main thing is the miniatures are getting painted.
That is pretty much the largest requirement out of all of it.
Yeah, it's partly I think because I'm painting the Stormcast from the starter set as well, and kind of doing those like it was 1991 again, just kind of blocking out the colours, maybe putting on a wash at some point.
I will say that one thing you notice almost immediately with these models is that they are nowhere near as sharp as GW.
Nowhere near as what? So I'm just going to shut the door. There's some sawing going on outside. I can't hear you.
Nowhere near as sharp as GW's. There's definitely a much lower level of detail.
No, they're not, are they?
Some of it is just, I mean, maybe I haven't read any of the lore on these guys or any of the background information on them. I mean, obviously they're like skeletal minion-y things that have been summoned, but it's like trying to paint the legs just go into blobs at the bottom. There aren't feet. So I'm like, is this part of a foot? Is this part of something else? I don't really know what this is at all. So
mine aren't too bad.
I'm going to whack paint all over it.
So maybe that's why.
Sorry?
Mine aren't too bad, but they have got proper boots on, so maybe that's why.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. I can't really tell if this is are they appearing out of some kind of summoning mist of some kind, and that's as they're solidifying and becoming corporeal, or is it just because when they were creating the models they were like, oh bollocks, who needs toes?
I don't know, mine are proper. So maybe that used to some sort of former there. Mine are properly formed, all of them, even the smaller ones properly formed. The plastic is softer for sure. I don't know if you can see that. This sword is a bit bent here.
I have broken a lot less teeth on these ones.
I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I haven't actually checked the price, but I assume the product is generally cheaper than GW products, although it would be harder to be more expensive. And possibly have the advantage that they're more readily available.
And these models were much easier to assemble than GWs.
Well, yeah, because they came with single piece.
Exactly.
So, yeah. I'm
So
sure
anybody
they
who's sitting
a
there
bit of
going,
mould line scraping, but I haven't done that.
who needs to scrape mould lines?
Okay, this is not that I ever have an advanced standard, but this is a fairly quick paint job to try and get them looking great for when we can meet in May. They look okay on the tabletop. Even a 3-colour paint job looks much better than a unpainted miniature in a video, or indeed in a game.
David Henson says he uses, I missed this, he uses Nihilak oxide. Is that for these spooky things, or is that just in general you're looking for a spooky effect, John?
What do you want to drink?
Sorry, not John, David. John David Ringo. The other problem with these models is their bases are much smaller, which is a plus, and I know that some of our patrons there, I think it was it Andrew's dad didn't like the higher bases GW models have, so he sanded them down, so they were nearer the actual table, which actually didn't look too bad. But these ones are quite small, and they're much harder to get to
small in one base,
sit in the
GW. Is large in the other.
Well, I mean the thickness of the base.
Yeah, they're shallow, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, one good thing with them being much lower detail is that you feel much less pressured to do loads and loads of work on them.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't done any. Have you looked into the rulebook at all yet on Godtear?
I have. At all, yes. Much, no. So I have given it a quick read. So the idea is that I think your champions harness this Godtear energy in the battle, and then try and gain the. Depends what type of champion you've got. You either gain the energy by smashing things up, by controlling the objective points. One is killing champions, one is killing the minions. I'm not called minions.
Yeah.
And then there's controlling the objective, and there's guarding your territory or something. I might be guarding your own objective, capturing your opponent's objective. Because you get, I haven't got the miniature here. Actually, here it is. Look, each warband comes with very little flag or totem of some sort, which you have to try and protect. And there's several phases in the game. So there's like a plot phase, and then a kind of activation phase. It's not what it's called, but so you plan what you're going to do, and then I guess you act it out, and then that. So I guess your plan could go wrong. So it's a bit more a bit less reactive. And no, but it's not a. You decide what you're going to do first, and then you have to do it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So then it all levels. So if your opponent does something that counters what you've done, you kind of just have to keep going with it until the end of the turn. And turns end when somebody gets so far ahead. I think there's a ladder of points for each turn.
Yes, and you move a counter back and forth as you do stuff, don't you?
Once one person gets 5 ahead, I think it is, it's the end of the turn. I may have got that slightly more. It looks interesting.
One big key difference. I mean, there are Sorry?
There are unfortunately dice in the box.
Boo. But there's no deck building.
But there is no deck building. No, there's a few cards for each fighter, or a card for each fighter. But there is no deck building. I keep putting this in the notepad.
So any of our patrons who are watching right now, if they're doing any painting, do post them in the Discord afterwards. Show off what you had achieved today. It's always nice to see what other people are doing. even if it is depressingly awesome.
John Grant uses nickel oxide for his ghost watered down with Lamy and medium. You're a big fan of watering things down Lamy and medium, not John? I've been trying it. I haven't been getting the same level of results as you.
I think there's 2 steps in the process. One is to water it down with Lamy and medium, and the other one is to be really good at painting.
Yeah.
And I fall over on the second point still. The problem I have, one of the big issues that I've had recently is unachievable expectations on my part, set by all these frankly amazing painters who, because they'll do some lovely close-up shots of their models, which obviously you look at on a screen and it's like 5 or 6 inches big, and you can see all the face and the features and all this kind of stuff, and you think, oh yeah, I'm going to paint my model to look like that, and then you pick the model up and you realise, I can't even see the features. How do you paint eyes when you can't make out the face? And I give up.
Yeah, I hear you. The thing I'm most in awe of, I think, is how, I don't know, I talked about this last week, but how smooth, John, you get your paintbrush. It's so clean. And I think, I'm going to be really careful with my painting this week. It's going to be really clean. I've been doing the chameleon, and I wanted it to be really clean, like my eye is purified. And I try to follow the instructions, and it doesn't look the same.
There's definitely not a similar look going on here. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, oh yeah, I'll really go to town on Count Doofenshmirtz, whatever his name is, I can't remember now. For the vampires, you know, I'll really take. Sorry, Count Doofenshmirtz.
Okay, I think it's a Count.
And you know, I figured I'll spend loads of time with him, and I'll really do a good job with him. And then when I actually got down to painting him, I mean, he's getting there. I've done some of the metal work, and I'm going to sort of give it a bit more of a trim to try and break up some of the red a bit. But actually, when I look at the face now, it's like one of the thin coat I've put on for the skin on the face. Like I'm not gonna try and work on that because I'll just ruin it. It picks out the features enough. You can see where his mouth and his eyes are, and you know what, that's good enough.
Yeah.
John says that Nighthaunt Gloom needs watering down. He puts over the top of Nihilak Oxide. Yeah, I've gone for some athematic blue on these guys, so I'll see how that looks. I possibly could have watered it down a bit, but yeah. Possibly. Exactly. It sounds like work to me, and I ain't got time.
Oh, I don't know whether a bit on here is armour or whether it's leather glove. I can't really tell.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's very hard sometimes to tell with these models.
Not just me, Games Workshop as well sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. I've got GW Tank Brush. Who remembers these? GW Tank brushes.
GW Tank Brush, wow.
From their red era.
Wow, I have got
this thing's like.
I got one left.
This one's like 20 years old or something. I've even got, I don't know if anybody remembers these. I found these in the loft a few months ago with some original paints. I've even got an original blue GW large Citadel brush.
Oh, wow. I've got a detail brush there, and I've got a large brush somewhere. That kind of useful.
All brushes end up being wash brushes.
Yeah,
or dry
what
brushes.
I've done with this one.
So I've just got the thing here that you mentioned, Robin, the totem thing for these guys, which just looks like a big sort of block of ice. So.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to try and walk this down a bit so it's not quite so lurid on this
I
thing as it
done
looks a
that
bit more.
I've got someone beating down it on the conservatory where someone's beating down it. The paint's drying out really fast.
Sorry, say that again?
I shouldn't have decided to paint metal while the sun's still shining on the conservatory because the metal is drying out really quickly on the palette.
You need a wet palette.
Well, I heard you shouldn't put metallics on a wet palette.
Why?
I don't know. I think because of the way they are made. And so they just separate. Is that true, everybody? I guess I don't know. I didn't do it. I've not done it.
Well, I mean, I find that most of my paints end up separating after a certain period of time, but then I don't tend to use my wet palette for, oh, I've mixed this colour just how I want it, I'll come back to it in 3 days' time and use it type stuff. I just use it for, I just don't want the stuff I'm using right now to dry out because I'm a skin.
So you use it for hydration rather than... Well,
Yeah,
hydration,
just
but longevity rather than... That's always longevity as well. I think I like this show.
I use it purely for that session still. I don't tend to
Right.
come back to the paint a day later or anything like that. I just, well, I sometimes do, and sometimes if I'm using the same paint next time I come back to it, it can be quite handy even if it's got a bit too watered down. You can add some of the original paint to it just to thin the paint that you want to use again.
Just for comparison, yeah. John Grant says he doesn't find they separate the wet palette and the short side, so maybe I my wet palette's here actually. I think I've got a little bit of space left in it. You know, I'll start using it. There we go. So there we go. John also says, Pete, the reason you can't paint eyes is because you're using the tape brush.
Ah, shit, that's it.
Yep.
No, John, the reason I can't paint eyes is because I'm shit at painting. And I haven't got the patience for it. And I honestly can't, literally just can't make out the eyes. The minute my paintbrush goes near the model, the paintbrush looks about 1,000,000 times too big for the model. So I've just acknowledged the fact that I can't do that.
I'm not.
That's just
there with it. But I kind of rapidly come to the conclusion that actually it doesn't really look any better any worse if I don't do the eyes.
Yeah, like I did. I've mostly done Vampire Boy, and I started to paint the eyes, and I thought, oh, that doesn't look bad when I did them, and then I come back and look at it later, and it's basically the entire eye socket is red. Like that's not the eyes. That's the whole quarter of his face. I don't know about you, Robin, but I find that when I do these sessions, these paint sessions on the camera, I can only do base layering and stuff like that, or washes and things. Anything else requires me to hunker into such positions that the camera just isn't going to be able to get them.
Yeah, or certainly I can't do them. I can't talk, look at the comments, and paint like blends or anything like that at the same time. It has to be like this colour goes there.
I think I need to get new headphones. Every time I move in these ones, I get a mild shock in my ear.
I think that's not good.
You're okay there. Just keep an eye out. So as long as I'm sitting there talking, it's fine. But if I sit there and start going, ah, then you know that there's a problem. You might need to call someone. Sorry?
To stop you falling asleep in meetings. Your head goes too far forward, you get electrocuted. John says you could just say the models are blinking. Interesting idea. It's like the Crimson Court are playing a massive game of Blind Man's Buff.
They're all very tired after all their hunting overnight. And they're having
when you're hungry, you get tired. Maybe that's it.
I find that when I'm full, I'm tired as well.
So
I think what that tells me is I'm perpetually tired.
Either way.
Yeah, I think the overriding drive here is I have children, and therefore I'm tired.
I was reading a book actually about a little bit about sleep. There was a chapter about sleep. It was basically saying that it's nobody gets enough sleep. We all know we need more sleep, and nobody gets enough sleep. Everybody's tired all the time. We was talking about it in relation to teenagers and trying to make sure they get enough sleep. Because they need more than the average human.
Yeah, and they meant to their body clock is basically set so they benefit from lions and going to bed later or something like that.
Right,
reading, which is great, but all the schools are like, no, it's 8:30. You better be ready to learn shit.
Yeah, well, I think that's more the parents rather than the school.
Parents are like, get the fuck out.
Yeah, I've got to go to work.
I've got one of those. My wife got a new smartwatch because the screen on hers is going a bit wackadoodle. So she got a new one and I had her off casts.
Right.
Which normally it's the other way around. I get rid of it. I get a new phone, and then she takes the off-cast old phone or whatever. But this time it's the other way around. So I've got this watch, and it tracks your sleep and stuff at night. And supposedly, like, whilst I don't get enough sleep, it's constantly saying, oh, you didn't hit your goal again last night. You didn't hit your goal again. Supposedly my quality of sleep's okay. It's just I'm not getting enough of it. But it's like, when is there time to get all that sleep?
It's a problem. I've been trying to get a bit more recently, just because I feel myself being run down. But as the mornings got lighter, it's a bit easier to get up. And then getting up and doing some writing in the morning. But it doesn't get any down in the day.
I definitely struggle getting up. I don't remember a time wherever I woke up and just thought, time to start the day.
No.
My immediate thought whenever I wake up is, 100% of the time.
I do quite like getting up early in the city. I like that feeling of getting a jump on everybody else.
But after the 5th or 6th time of getting the jump on them and beating the crap out of them, the kids just stop letting you in the room.
I used to like it when we had small kids and we were like by necessity and we would go places and be there. We'd be like the first there. But that doesn't happen now because I can't get the children
Yeah.
And I remember that before children, we used to go to breakfast buffets at hotels and you'd be like screeching in for the last 5 minutes before they close the doors. And then once you have children, you're like banging on the door before they open.
Yeah. Like, we want to come in. You can't come in. It's 5 a.m. My children are awake.
2 hours.
My children are awake and I want to do something that distracts them from pissing me off more.
Exactly. That was exactly it. I don't remember you being there.
This is a familiar scene that parents up and down the country, in fact all around the world, suffer. I remember back when I got married and we went on our honeymoon and we stayed in a hotel which it ended up turning out to be a family hotel, which meant that there were kids everywhere because we had to get married during the holidays because my wife worked at a college. And it was great. We got woke up like every morning by kids running up and down the hallway screaming and stuff.
Well, I suppose that's a taste of things to come, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. Pissed me right off.
Fair enough.
That's all I can say to that one.
I've got a few good stories about my mum. But one time, it was very nice. It was very nice of them. They wanted to take us to Disneyland. They were very insistent we went to Disneyland in Paris. And we said, we're going to take the train because it's easier for us to fly. And my mum said, I wouldn't want to take the train. It'll be full of children. We're going to Disneyland.
I don't want to colour events that are to come here by starting you off with bad news, but I feel that there's a factor that you're missing here.
That's like I was just we have got children of our own, so we'll be okay.
Yeah. But anyway, kids. Let's not talk about kids. This is some actual non-kid time.
That's true.
But it's hard.
And the comments have got right down, so maybe clearly not very interesting.
Yeah, well, can't say I blame people. Kids aren't very interesting overall. Whether you've got them or you have to teach them or just you have to put up with them, kids aren't interesting.
Full stop.
Full stop. I'm looking at the camera as I'm doing this and it looks god awful, and I'm sure anybody watching this is probably thinking, oh my god, this is just awful. But
I like to think the keeping it real painters.
Yeah.
This is what you could do if you have very low talent.
Yeah. That's generally, I mean, that's our main target group, really. And I know we didn't start with painting, so we've picked up a lot of very skilled painters on the way, unintentionally. And I'd like to say that they've definitely encouraged me to try and paint more.
Definitely.
But I like to think that our core market has always been the people who aren't awesome at the game or whatever it is.
They're awesome people, but they're not awesome in the game.
Exactly. But again, we have multiple Patreoners who are multiple glass winners.
Yep, we do.
And again, I'd like to think that they encourage us to try and do better.
That's not...
I'd like to think. Sorry?
I said, yeah, that's not working.
No, not really. I just need to learn how to roll dice.
Yeah, I don't know anybody can help with that.
No. I think some people are just naturally unlucky, and I think I'm one of them, which doesn't bode well for a person who likes dice games.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave Henson says it's a big kid session, not a little kid session.
Very true. Grown ups and their toys.
Serious business is this toys malarkey. I know several people at work who partake in the hobby, or have partners who partake in the hobby and stuff like that.
Okay.
And it's one of those things where you never have that conversation to start with, because you don't want to admit, oh, I play with little toy soldiers. But sooner or later something comes up where somebody mentions it, and then you're like, oh yes, I too am in that group.
You have to kind of wait till you know it's safe, don't you?
Yeah, it's like there's the secret word. Although one of the guys who we hired recently, he pretty much in his about me thing that he did to the whole company, he didn't mention Games Workshop specifically, but he did basically say that he plays with like toy soldier models type stuff.
Okay.
I thought, well, that is brave.
I mean, I wish I was like that actually. Because, as I've got older, I've become more like that. And it's my hobby. And screw you if you think it's weird.
Yeah, definitely.
I used to think it was slightly unfair that talking endlessly about 22 men kicking a football around a pitch was worthy of hours and hours of discussion and wasn't at all set. Or talking about cars.
Even more.
I inadvertently wandered into a car conversation the other day. I know nothing about cars.
And people are like, what have you got? And you're like, a car? A go?
It's just the same. It's just that the stats of like torque and horsepower and things.
0 to 60 and shit
It's
like
not
that.
really any different.
Yeah.
But one's socially acceptable, one isn't.
Yeah, football does my head in. It's like, why would I want to watch 20-something multi-millionaires kick a ball round, act badly when they've been pushed over, and generally act like petulant children for the most part?
No, I don't mind football. I'm more into football than you are.
I don't mind like the World Cups and the Euro and stuff like that. But then I feel like there's a bit more of a point to those.
Right.
Even if it is like a bit more of a national them versus us kind of thing. Although hopefully in good sport type situation. I at least feel that there's more point to those, whereas most football just seems to be whoever has the most money can buy the best players.
I've just looked up and seen the size of your brush.
Giant brush.
Yeah, I only just get mine in my water.
There's a lot of model here.
Dave Henderson says he is. He's telling everyone he's a geek. Yeah, I think it's become more acceptable to do that. But yes, I wish I was more like that. I don't even post very rarely post the figures on my sort of Facebook page and my things on. Like one time, Pete, I think you mistakenly tagged me for something, and I was like, oh my god.
No! People will know I'm a nerd. Yeah. Don't do it. Well, I think, wasn't it one of us posted something? I thought you posted something once on Facebook, but instead of posting it to the agent's page, you'd post it on your own page or something like that. And I messaged you and sort of said, did you realise you'd done that? You're like, oh no, thank you very much. I shall change that. It might have been me. I can't remember. One of us did. The other.
Just telling me that I'd done it.
And they're just like, shit.
Why don't they do that more often, actually?
I think it's just because it's such a pain in the arse to try and post stuff on Facebook. You definitely know you've got it in the right place by the time you've been able to set it up.
Yeah, I have to say, I was actually thinking, right, I'm going to come clean. I posted quite a lot of Star Wars and painted quite a lot of Star Wars and Marvel figures over lockdown. I thought I'm going to come clean. I'm going to post them because Marvel and Star Wars are kind of slightly more acceptable
They're acceptable geek.
sort of geek areas.
They're
No,
mainstream
yeah,
geek.
Star Wars as well. I was going to post them, and then it was such a faff trying to do it on Facebook that I gave up. So it's still, my secret is still out. It's still hidden. And a few of my friends on my Instagram. I think I actually set up the Instagram before it was a channel thing. I just changed the name.
I definitely find it's not that I don't mention my nerdiness these days. I find there's so little. I think with lockdown as well, there are so few situations to actually mention it. But then at the same time, quite often, like when we had our roleplay weekends and stuff like that, where we used to go, where it was either Stu's or Dave's or whatever. If we had one of those and people said, "Oh, what'd you do at the weekend?" I would just generally just sort of say, "Oh, I just spent the day with my mates, just sort of hung around, didn't do very much," because that just requires less additional explanation, and I can't be bothered to have to explain it.
Yeah, over time, I found I'd be saying more, "Oh, I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons this weekend." Things like Stranger Things, I felt that people kind of know a bit more what it is.
Yeah, that's true. There's definitely certain things are still more acceptable to talk about than others.
Yes.
Like dogging.
Yeah, that is definitely true, Pete.
But I think dogging is probably more acceptable than model painting.
Tough one.
It does feel like it sometimes.
I'd like to say which was more socially acceptable.
I'll have to record next time somebody asks. I'll record their reaction as I say each of the different things. So what did you do the weekend? I went dogging. Oh no, I mean I did some miniature painting. Pervert. I was right with the dogging. I think I'm going to try and offset the blue on these guys, the spooky blue, by just sort of doing their armour very dark and then their clothing sort of quite ragged.
Right. Yeah.
I say this like I've got.
It could be a thing where you say you do miniature gaming, and then you say, and they say, "Oh, that, yeah, don't be good at it," and you say play Stormcast, and they're like,
Ugh.
ultimately.
I remember having a conversation with somebody once, and I sort of said to them, "Oh yeah, I did that," and they're like, "Oh yeah, I went to one of their stores in London once, and yeah, stuff were really nice, and yeah, it's really good. My kids were really interested in this kind of stuff." But it always ends with that kind of thing of, "Oh yeah, I went and store one of those once. Yeah, my kids found it really interesting." Like, no. Not just kids, thank you very much.
Yeah, kids ruin it for everyone, arguably.
Bloody kids.
Dave said he wouldn't admit to role playing.
You could turn it on its head. You could sort of go, "Wow, what did you do this weekend?" "Oh, I did some role playing." "Oh, what sort of D&D?" No, with the wife. She was a saucy nurse, and I was a big butch plumber. Right, could you not just say you play Stormcast instead? I can handle that better. Okay. Well, I say I can handle it better. I mean, I can't, but no. I tried being really clever with
Well, that never worked.
No, I know. With Count Duvet's cloak, I tried to be clever, and I painted it black, and then I started to go over it with some shyish purple, because I thought I'll just try and keep the black in the crevices, and then I'll use the shyish purple to lift just the edges and stuff. And I did it, and then I went away and came back later on and looked at it, and I realised actually it looks shocking now, because the black, you could definitely tell the black had sort of looked a bit more chalky almost.
Right.
And the purple actually looked darker. Yeah. So I ended up having to paint the whole cloak purple. Now I'm going to have to try and work out how to highlight that.
This is I'm basically turning into 60 minutes of me painting metal.
Well, I mean, this is 60 minutes of us painting stuff. Just, sometimes it varies and sometimes it doesn't.
If you start a new miniature, it's like that way. I've really finished the four that I've chosen to paint. And I will get some other colours on. That means I need to decide what other colours to paint with.
I am doing quite well so far. I'm now going to do the usual thing. The thing that contrast is best at, brown. I'm just going to do lots of brown.
Contrast is very good for brown.
I wonder if that's just because it's the is it the colour brown it works well, or is it just that normally you put brown on areas that are textured enough that will show off the colour better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Somebody posted something about brown on our paper ages ago. I can't remember what it was now. It's interesting that, but the brown doesn't exist or something like that. Or brown, or every colour's brown. I can't remember. It's like one of the two.
Okay.
But yeah, I find brown. Yeah, they're all just slightly different shades of brown. Even the yellow is brown.
Until you water it down far enough that it becomes yellow.
Yeah, certainly thick for brown.
Yeah.
I actually discovered last night, Pete, that my
Penis?
yeah, it's gone. So long since I've used it. I don't know where I left it.
I put it in the drawer, and now I think I threw that set of drawers out.
It's in a jar. No, that wasn't what I was going to say. Thank you. I wrote for Geekdown ages ago, when they first came out, I wrote a piece about contrast paints. 13 things you need to know about contrast painting. Those kind of paints are really well. But it is still clocking 300 views a day.
Really?
Yeah, it's like the 7th most popular post on Geekdown in the last year. And it's even in the top 20 or 30 of all time.
Flipping heck.
So I'm just wondering whether we should just do painting.
We'll just talk about painting. Doesn't even have to be good.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't think it said very much. I mean, it was my experience of it as a not particularly good painter.
But I mean, you've just described a very large chunk of the people GW are trying to sell contrast paints to.
Well, yeah, well, exactly. I think I did feel reasonably qualified. It's in some ways, and not in others. Because I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah. So we're going through all this crap and battle reports and all that stuff when we could just write an article about paints.
Yeah.
Although I guess one of them gets us our lovely Patreoners.
Yeah, that is very true.
It's that constant battle between looking at YouTube and going, oh, nothing, we just can't seem to attract the masses, and then looking at Patreon going, these are the ones that matter.
60 minutes of watching paint play. Tabletop game players look down on role players look down on live action role players, the hierarchy of nerds. The tabletop players really look down on role players. I would have thought role playing was at the top of that list.
I would have thought the same, really.
It
kind of feels like that to me.
I'm not sure, but I feel like wargames are kind of it's more nerdy than roleplay. So it's a different sort of nerdy, isn't it? One's number crunching nerdy. Oh, actually, roleplaying is number crunching nerdy. I think roleplaying's been kind of rehabilitated a little bit by things like Critical Role. People more see it as a kind of fun storytelling thing rather than a endlessly rolling dice and crunching number exercise. I'm sure some people still use it as.
Some people definitely are what is the optimal build I can make my character, or what is the optimal skills I can give my character, or some stuff like that. And other people are just like, this is mostly an excuse for me to get away from the wife and kids for a day, so I don't care what we do.
John says it's because we're both role-playing nerds. You could be right. A role-playing is where I started. D&D into Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Well, that must have been alongside Warhammer Battle. My friend got me into Warhammer Battle. I bought Warhammer Battle 2nd edition in Winchester on a family holiday on the way to the Isle of Wight. I remember it vividly. Hot summer's day in Winchester, in a toy shop.
I remember going to, I don't even remember, I think it was like Hero Quest or Space Crusade that got me into the game, and Battle Masters as well was another one that started me off on the journey. And then seeing, there's this company called Games Workshop, and then we were, I think it was down Brighton or somewhere. No, in fact we were on holiday somewhere. I don't remember where we were. Some coastal place that wasn't Brighton. Very well, Brighton is still a coastal place. And me and my cousin sort of noticed it, and we went in there, and then somehow managed to convince my grandparents or whatever to buy us multiple boxes of various things from some scary, hairy looking bloke behind the counter while heavy metal music was blaring out over the radio and stuff.
Yeah, over the days. I remember when I started, there were only like 3 or 4 Games Workshops. We just moved to Birmingham. But that's how I know when I bought the Warhammer, because we just moved to Birmingham, and so instead of travelling from where we lived in Essex to, we had to travel from Birmingham. And so it was 1985. But yeah, there were hardly any Games Workshops in those days. Sheffield, I think, Nottingham maybe, London, and Birmingham. Good times.
I mean, there were definitely pluses and minuses to GW back then versus GW now. I mean, it is a lot more accessible, a lot more. It's not as varied as it could be. It's not as inclusive as it could be still, but it's getting there.
It's definitely better.
Yeah, and I know there's definitely an old guard of people who are like, well, it wasn't inclusive in my day, so why should it be inclusive now, kind of thing, which is the constant counter argument for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's definitely getting better than it was.
It's just a different say. I'm now moving on. Having painted silver, I'm now moving on to black.
I don't think I want to get onto any silver today. I'm just going to do browns and stuff, and then metal will be next
so
time.
I'm painting these black so that I can then paint them brown again. So I am doing what you said for the leather. Yeah, I've got a really nice brown, but it looks much better with leather over black. Thin slightly. Just painting some leather bits black.
John Grant says that he wrote an article about finding Hero Quest and GW and the heavy metal days and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Good times.
Got people with Sheffield and Aberdeen.
I say good times. I mean, I don't really. I mean, if you look back at them, they probably weren't good times, but they remind me of good times, like when I was a kid and I didn't have any hassle.
I remember Ted. He was a manager of the Birmingham shop. He was awesome. He was a proper heavy metal guy. I remember bumping into him years later at a game day. Very thrilled to see him. I think by that time he was one of the mail order trolls. He'd gone to work in the head office.
I remember back when mail order trolls, you literally had to do it all via mail order.
Yeah.
And I remember me and a friend, we ordered some stuff. I think we ordered some squats and some Empire soldiers because, of course, that's what you would do. And we ended up just getting a whole random hodgepodge of other models that we didn't even order, along with the few that we had ordered.
Right.
Which got some random other stuff chucked in there as well. Like, oh, cool. Not sure why we got that, but who cares?
Yeah. It's much harder to do now than you've got a sprue. I don't think they do it anymore, do they? But you use their order bits.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, you could order just the head from the Greater Demon or whatever. Which, again, there's upsides and downsides to that, obviously.
Yep. Yep. I shudder to think how much the model would cost if they just did all metal.
Oh God, I don't even think. But they wouldn't be as good, would they?
They wouldn't be.
That would be a big problem.
I mean, certainly the size of the models. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Plastic.
You could not have an Abaddon.
I must confess that annoys me a little bit. I don't like the great big models. So maybe I would have preferred the Ned Day.
There was something to be said for having a whole unit of metal, because normally, if you had a great big like Warhammer unit of metal models, they were like your cream of the crop.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of stuff was metal, but once you got into like the late 90s, more of your rank and file stuff was becoming plastic. But your elite troops, your big boys, they were nearly always still metal.
Yeah, I didn't notice at the time. Some of those metal models were really bad. You know, plastic models were really bad.
Yeah.
I was looking at my Plastic Empire models, not recently, but while I was out in the garage once. I remember absolutely loving them. And I guess just by the passage of time, it's just god awful models.
I think if you look back at most models from over 10 years ago, they are just worse.
Yeah. I suppose, to be fair, most anything. But
Yeah, that's
if
true.
you compare the latest PlayStation to the first one, you probably would find it probably be unfavourable. Or cars.
Yeah, things have to go through a certain amount of time before they become retro and cool again, like computer gaming.
Yeah.
Like if someone had said to you in the early 2000s, "Oh, let's play Pac-Man" or whatever," people are like, "Whoa, fuck off! I'm not playing Pac-Man. I'm playing this instead." And these days, people are sort of like, "Oh yeah, let's play Pac-Man for the lols," or whatever.
Simpler time.
It was simpler times. Command groups were metal, so that Ildefonso, you
Yes,
get
Command.
your champion.
Yes, oh wow.
Your banner bearer, who was always either a moulded banner, which was great but always too heavy, or it would just be some bloke with a stick, and you'd never quite be able to do a banner properly for it.
I used to make my banners out of toothpaste tube.
Back when they were metal.
Yeah.
A few times I tried it,
I guess they were film coated as well, so they had metal in them, but they weren't like proper break. They weren't the metal that used to break and the toothpaste used to come out the back.
I used to use like tomato puree things.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. Simpler times.
But then it still wouldn't bloody stick conceivably on was good eye.
Yeah. God, that was always a pain in the ass trying to get I had one of the old horned rat models.
Right.
And that was a metal model, and trying to stick that bastard together. It's unreasonable to expect like a 14-year-old to be able to super glue one of those things together. And then I think the last metal thing I started to get, last metal model I assembled was the Screaming Skull Catapult, which I got a few years ago when I had my skeleton army, back when we first started to toy with AOS again. And I bought a Screaming Skull Catapult because obviously now I'm old, so I could afford it. Because they were like 70-80 quid on eBay still. And that was an absolute bastard to assemble. I just remember thinking, how the hell would a 14-year-old be able to do this? No, I had to drill it and pin it and all kinds of crap.
Yeah, I just used to try and manage. Just had my models just fall apart regularly. Paper and PVA. Paper and PVA, what for the banners? Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to love the Commander. So I used to try and get the Commander, especially for the Empire models. And the I can't remember what they were called. There was a kind of Rangers. The Rangers had a command group. And they were like basically the characters were basically Robin Hood, Little John, and Friar Tuck.
Oh, that was the yeah, I remember those. Yeah, what were they from? They were a Bretonian.
Yeah, I remember they were Bretonian. Yeah, they might have been. It all kind of morphed into one.
Yeah, but yeah, I think they were a Bretonian unit. But yes, you had like there was the Friar Tuck looking one, and then there was the one that looked like Robin Hood, and then there was the Little John.
Yeah.
John Grant says that he wants an Empire Cities a Sigmar army. I mean, it just probably wouldn't look as good these days, or rather, it would look too Age of Sigmarish.
Too Age of Sigmar. Too old.
Too Age of Sigmar.
Yeah. There are some good rule sets from each companies out there making that kind of stuff. And I'm always tempted when we just ignore them. Get back in the box. You've got too much going on.
Always does seem to be so many things going on. Too many things to want to do.
You certainly can't get into a game that involves a vast number of fighters. pay our patron Jeff, or not Jeff, just bought into that epic scale Civil War game. Sort of interests me, but I can't fathom playing it or painting it.
The problem, I don't think I ever had a fully painted army. I remember I collected Imperial Guard at some point, and I'd even painted a few tanks. I'd managed to actually paint a few tanks and a few squads. But I think that was probably as far as I got. I always liked the more horde armies though, so skeletons, also undead, Skaven, all those kind of things, which really aren't very great for
actually finish and paint. The thing, I had a painted army when I didn't play, and I didn't have a painted army when I did play. So I had thousands of points of Bretonians painted.
Most of your Bretonians were painted, weren't they?
Later in life. But I never played them. I didn't know anybody else who played. And the shops were full of sweaty oils.
That is one of the biggest problems, is finding people who do play.
Yeah.
And
I mean, for those who've worked in Games Workshop will probably remember better that you go in and somebody will just trap you in a corner and talk to you about the dice modifiers on some unit or other they concocted.
How they've worked out
and you wouldn't get out. I can't face that.
Yeah. How they've worked out that in the latest rule book they're completely broken, because if you take this unit and that unit and you do this and that, then you're hitting on 2s with rerolls and then you're wounding on 2s with rerolls. I don't care.
Yeah. Why
are you talking to me? Why do you think I want to know this stuff?
I have no sense of smell, so also is a barrier to not having a sense of smell is a barrier to enjoying the hobby at certain points. You didn't even have that drawback.
Which is maybe a bit unfair for some of these people, but for some of them they really do exemplify the stereotype that you want to try and get rid of.
Going with my wife, and she said you need to start taking a canary in there.
My wife stopped going in those places. I take the boys in every now and then. They would show some interest in the models, but only the ones that are already painted and on display, obviously. The minute it comes to actually trying to implement something like that themselves, they're like, yeah, that seems like a lot of work when I could just play this computer game.
Yeah, exactly. I've actually stopped taking my kids in because they would argue with each other. They would clamour to buy stuff, and it's not like there's anything cheap in there anymore. You say, oh, well, you can have a whatever. And then or they want to spend birthday money that they might have, and then it will come home, sit on the side, and never get used.
Yeah.
So,
just depressing.
Although my son is very much into Star Wars Legion. He's actually,
you've got to nurture that.
Yeah, he has actually painted a load of my Star Wars Legion stuff because he's just sitting on the side waiting for me to paint. He's not painting. I'm not being painted. I might as well let him do it.
Yeah. And you've had some stuff 3D printed by one of our patrons.
I have, yeah.
To keep feeding that addiction.
He's really enjoying them, so he's saving for his next one, I think. Although now he's at school, it waned a little bit beforehand. It was every week I'm doing that there. He's like, what can I get next? Now he's back at school. Softened a little. Also in the summer's not such a good time to do that.
We have nearly hit our hour mark.
Brilliant.
It is nearly time to call it a day.
I've just painted this black and silver.
I've mostly managed to. It looks like I'm painting this brown, but I'm actually painting it warp block bronze because I'm going to go over it with this, and then I'm going to go with a slightly lighter bronzy colour.
It's makes me god awful. So the plan then is to get these painted by the 20th of May, something like that, when we're meeting.
Yeah.
So we've got the 17th of May booked out all day for Warhammer Underworld.
That's the plan.
All day. The first day we're allowed to meet, we'll be there running down. Not jumping into each other's arms, because obviously we still can't do that. But we will be doing that, and then that week we're meeting twice, and we're going to play Godtear. and record that. See how we like it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to playing another hex-based game. It's not Underworld, not deck building.
I'm definitely looking forward to avoiding the deck building front. Not because I hate it, but because I have so little time for it in my day-to-day life. It's just depressing that I sit there and I just then stare at the cards and think, well, I don't know what I even want to do now with it.
I've just missed the Johnny Milan's comment. He used to strip metal models with Malvirus remover in those days. So it's basically Johnny, just like stripping, really, don't you, John?
Stripper John. Stripper Joe.
Yeah. And Dave Henson used to have to leave the door open in the local club, clear out the room the next day.
Just to air it out a bit.
It is, yeah, it's one of those. They are quite a lot of the fans are at that age. Personal hygiene is not high on the agenda. I mean, my son, who isn't in that particularly, he's not overly keen on wasting his precious time washing.
I could be spending that time doing so many more things that aren't just boring personal hygiene. Like, believe me, you need to.
I think if I lived on my own, I'd probably be smelling it. This is I've got no sense of smell.
I would definitely, yeah, if it wasn't for the wife, I would definitely probably end up being a lot more
fragrant.
Fragrant, yeah, basically. Right, well, there we are.
Brilliant.
It is.
Well, right, that's
1 o'clock.
Hopefully it will come out in the wash.
Sorry?
So I've made a might mess of this now, but hopefully it'll all come out in the wash.
It's at that base coat stage where everything looks crap.
Yeah, especially it's the worst. It's just basically black, white, and silver. Just looks god awful.
So I've just slapped a load of blue on things. Basically, I've just slapped some blue on this model here. Well, I've blued them all.
You blew them all.
I blued them all. So that's pretty much all I've done. I've just put a load of athematic blue on things to give it that sort of spooky look, and then I start doing a load of brown.
Well, actually, I painted things silver and then some things black so that I can then paint them better. I feel like there's maybe duplicated effort. But hopefully, when it's done, it'll look half decent. I need to decide the colour for this kind of tabar. I'll probably put some gold armour over here.
Red.
Well, the tabar might be red.
Red.
Whatever I do is basically because I've got the 4 miniatures. They've kind of all got to be same colours. I'm thinking green actually. We'll decide. Or I'll decide. Well, thank you everybody.
Yeah, I hope people enjoyed our little ramblings. It wasn't so much a painting session; it's just a blathering session.
Well, I think that is pretty much our MO, isn't it?
That's our shtick.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Aaron Northcote, another hex-based game. Well, I'll tell you what, John. Actually, we need to sort that meet up. Not only think about that, otherwise we'll lose the TV in half term. But we should play it. One time when you come over, you should bring it with you and we'll give it a go.
Bring your models. We'll record a game, see how we get on.
Yeah, that'd be really fun. I'd like to do that. So we'll maybe not the first time, but maybe the second time we'll do that.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you Tuesday night live, and then next Friday we'll be back painting. Who knows what? We need to work out what we're gonna talk about on Tuesday night live as well. So anybody's got any suggestions, do chuck them in the comments. Absolutely. Right. Thanks all for joining us. Okay. Oh, accidentally clicked on the credits there. See you soon. Bye. Bye.